in a forest someplace. He's a very interesting, sincere soul, very humble. Something funny. Ishan was Prabhupada's servant when Prabhupada came to, who's that famous hippie Beatle, the one with glasses?
George Harrison, John Lennon.
So Ishan had a very intimate relationship, old relationship with Srila Prabhupada. And Ishan showed up and offered to do whatever I asked him. And he didn't put any conditions, and whatever I asked him to do, he did very happily. Sometimes I'd take him out preaching, and sometimes he'd help cooking, anything. He didn't. So he asked me that, Prabhu, I'm not fixed in any service. What should I do? What would Prabhupada want me to do? So I already had some idea of Ishan's. Later on in the database, I read more about this, but I had some idea of Ishan and his mind, not always being able to figure out what he should do. This is the same thing. I'm not off track, don't worry. So knowing that Srila Prabhupada was going to be coming in a few weeks, and that Ishan had a particularly close relationship with Srila Prabhupada, which doesn't get changed. When a person has a close relationship and you give them advice, you should incorporate that relationship, because afterwards it's going to go on, especially Ishan. He was very... So I said, wait until Srila Prabhupada comes, and I gave him some hint, which I won't say, because I'll let you hear what Srila Prabhupada said. So Srila Prabhupada came, and I grabbed Ishan. I said, let's go in Prabhupada's room, and we went in, and then Ishan expressed the same thing. Srila Prabhupada, I'm confused about what I should do. I don't know what to do. And so can anybody guess what Srila Prabhupada said? I don't think any of you read that section on Facebook. I don't think I posted it. Very simple. He said 6 words. You have a brain. Use it. So there's this fine balance of, that mood of amalgamation. The mood of amalgamation is based on personalism. It's based on evolution of consciousness, of thinking of the other person's well-being equally to my well-being. And in the dance of the relationship of equality of well-being, there's only one variety, is what foot do I put first? Do I put my 50% of well-being first, or the other person's 50%? Let's just say it's 50-50, which is not the ideal of an Aryan. An Arya Jusjam Asrakam. We're not in the political sense or the religious sense. Aryan, one who follows a civilized life. The Aryan Vaishnava, what is his percentage division? The average person, 50-50.
All for the other, all
Yes.
for Krishna, everything.
The ideal person puts, fully the other person. Of course, you have to be practical. You have to be practical. You have to be, able to do that, give service. So as much as I need to do to be able to give service, that is my interest. So the ideal acharya. So is that clear? To think, but to think in relationship to the other person's interest. The very best GBC I had, I'll come to you one second. The very best GBC I had, and I'm not trying to, don't take it and misuse it that I'm demeaning other persons. There's good and improvable in everyone. Good and improvable. Instead of calling it bad, one time, I'm reluctant to say this because it's out of context. I told you, the thing, if I'm going to rate myself, in a detached way, nothing to do with what I feel about it, just like, okay, Tejas did this and Tejas. The thing that I, score lowest is dealing with difficult people. But Prabhupada had me dealing with difficult, and then Prabhupada started to try to train me. So he'd come, and then he'd say, who's going to get initiated? So from a previous visit, I had seen how Srila Prabhupada was very magnanimous, and he told me, something. So then Prabhupada called it liberal. Don't get excited. Not that liberal. So Prabhupada would call it liberal. So, so then I tried to be liberal, and then Prabhupada would put me on the carpet and says, why is this? Why you gave it? It recommended this person. Why you recommend? So then I thought, okay, I'll become more strict. Then Prabhupada would show up again because he was coming and going and coming and going, and we're going to Vrindavan and bringing people together. So then I became more strict, and then it went back and forth. And finally, after a sequence of these, where I did not try to analyze this. I just tried to. So Prabhupada says, that is your defect. You do not know how to reform. So the concept is we see ourselves and we see others, our capabilities, and the ways that we have room for improvement, not bad traits. So, you follow? Yes.
Jacqueline, can you speak on Prabhupada's emphasis on the importance of prasada, which is my favorite subject?
Yes. I'll tell a little story. There are so many, but this one first pops to my mind, so it's probably the most. So I had not wanted to be, I had missed meeting Srila Prabhupada 5 times before I finally moved into the temple. I had not met him. And, I knew he was the teacher and the writer of the books, but I had not read any of his books. So then I came to understand, as I said, the reluctant disciple. But then I was volunteered as Yogendra Vandana Prabhu to go to India on the second batch. So this is my first meeting with Srila Prabhupada. And in those days, we had, as I mentioned, there were no books on him, and only his books, and nobody, even Rupanuga rarely talked about him. And we didn't meet too many people who had spent time with Prabhupada. Sometimes, rarely, and they didn't, didn't do that, sit around and talk all day about Prabhupada. Even on Vyas Puja, it was very solemn. So I met Srila Prabhupada, and not knowing what to expect, I was introduced, and Rupanuga said, this is Tejas, and he had met Prabhupada in Detroit and told him about me, and he could go to India, and Prabhupada said, very good. He said, then immediately Prabhupada said, I want to discuss about the life membership program. Call all the big bigs, wherever they are, wake them up. So, and tell them I want to speak about the membership program. So I won't dwell on the membership program, but the funny thing is that all the big bigs, temple presidents and GBCs and sannyasis, to a man, they were all sleeping. It was so funny, it was like, how did Prabhupada know that they'd all be sleeping? So that was a little funny, and this big bigs, Prabhupada said big bigs, so I don't know if anybody understood big bigs, but living in India, I understood when you say a word twice, it gives a kind of funny twist or an emphasis. Like in Hindi, we say quick, jaldi, You can say jaldi. In Telugu, you have to say gaba gaba. So you never say gaba, it's gaba gaba. Quickly. In English, we say quickly. Come quickly. So it's an odd to modern English. So big. So everyone assembled, and Srila Prabhupada started to talk about the prasadam in Jagannath Puri, and how that they made 54 offerings a day, and there were so many, and that in a moment's notice, very quickly, they could cook for 100 to 200 people. So Prabhupada was setting the mood So I can't say for sure if he knew where he was going to take this, but he did take it in a certain direction. Then he talked about the membership program and how they had started in India for 1,111 rupees and here in America at $1,111. And it's being very successful. Prabhupada wanted to create a little competition feeling. We were already doing in Buffalo. But, so, trying to touch upon any motivation, including competition. So Prabhupada says, profit. So Prabhupada says, we are taking 1,111 rupees. We are giving them 555 rupees of books. And then Prabhupada, he put his spin on it, very good business. So like this, he repeated this 3 times, and on the 3rd time, Srila Prabhupada said, they are calling us to their home, they are giving us 1,000 rupees, we are giving them 500 rupees a book, and they are providing us a feast. And then Prabhupada, seeing that he had grasped everyone there, and then Prabhupada said, and in this way we are eating our way back to Godhead. Eating our way back to Godhead.
I need to interrupt now. RT will be in about 3 or 4 minutes. So either Mayapur can do that behind closed curtain and Tejas can keep speaking, or I told Tejas between 11 and 12 we have the cutoff and then we would have RT and then Guru Puja. Or we can, since we don't know when we'll get him up here again, we could extract another 20, 25 minutes from him and Mayapur can do a closed RT.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay? And my battery's about to go here, so I won't be able to film anymore. So if somebody else can film, okay, I'll go tell Mayapur. Get another couple of minutes out of it.